Passionate, outspoken, insightful. Ariva Martin is an award-winning civil rights attorney, best-selling author, legal commentator, and America's advocate. Live from Los Angeles, this is the Special Report.
Good morning and welcome to our viewers in the U.S. and around the world. To kick off this morning's broadcast, do me a favor. Please share the show with your online friends or start a viewing party. And remember to post a comment or question. Your voice matters and I want to hear from you. Today is a special day because earlier in the week, I sat down with a fellow board member at Special Needs Network, a mom, an activist, and one of the country's hottest comedians and actresses, Kym Whitley. In my in-depth interview, Kym tells us how to have a sense of humor during these tough times, and she gives us her take on today's current events. Kym's career in Hollywood spans decades. She got her big break in the late 1980s, starring in Shelley Garrett's popular play Beauty Shop. She went on to star in My Brother and Me, Sparks, Moesha, That's So Raven, and Curb Your Enthusiasm. Kym's reality docuseries entitled Raising Whitley, about raising her adopted son Joshua, was one of the Oprah Winfrey Network's most successful shows. Kym also starred on ABC's Families, Young and Hungry, and The Bay, for which she was nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Supporting Actress. You've also seen Kym on The Master of None. The Thanksgiving episode of that series, in which Kym was a part, won an Emmy Award. Kym is the author of The Delusion of Cinderella. And she and good friend Sherry Shepard are executive producers and co-hosts of a new podcast, Two Funny Mamas. A wellness advocate and new ambassador for WW, Kym has been cooking up more than food in the kitchen. Welcome, my good friend, Kym Whitley. I want to catch up with you, Kym, because so much has happened. Oh, it seems like months ago that you sat down with me on the special report. I think it was the end of March, and we were just kind of making adjustments to what was going on with this pandemic. And now we are 5 months into this. And boy, I have to tell you, this has been an emotional roller coaster for me and for so many people. What has it been like for you over the last 5 months in this state of, quarantine, semi-quarantine, lockdown, not sure if we're locked down, just kind of craziness?
Ariba, I'm glad to see you sitting there. I'm glad that we can, 5 months that we're healthy and that we're still here. A lot has happened in those 5 months. You're absolutely right. I've had family members affected. We've had friends affected. I thought that the next time I spoke with you and saw you, it would be in person, and this thing would have gone, to a minimum, but instead it's kind of blown up. I'm gonna be honest, my mental state is what bothers me now. I'm concerned that you can very easily fall into a depression, and that's where I am now. It's been tough. I'll tell you that, but I've made it through. I lost 23 pounds during this time.
Yay.
Working out. I've become closer to my friends because we talk. I have not seen my dad, who lives in Cleveland, who I'm very concerned about. He's fine, but he's been in his apartment by himself for 5 months.
Wow.
So it's difficult.
First, I want to commend you on losing 23 pounds because so many people are, complaining about the quarantine 15 and the fact that because they're at home, just going back and forth to that refrigerator, that they are gaining weight. So, kudos to you for taking advantage of this opportunity to lose weight, to, work out and to get in even better shape, because we know how we feel physically can impact and does impact how we feel, emotionally. But I want to go back to that D word. And, I've had probably 5 or more psychologists, therapists on with me since March, just really trying to help people deal with the depression that so many of people, I don't call mine depression, but I definitely have those days, when I'm just unhappy, when I'm sad, and just try to make sense of this. And we just did a show last week where someone was talking about just trying to make it just day by day, not trying to plan weeks out, because all those big plans, like you said, we were hoping we would see each other by now. I was hoping events that we had planned in September and October that we would actually be in hotel rooms, in parks at our big event that we do in the fall. But it looks like we may not get out of our homes until maybe January of next year. As hard
Yeah.
as it is to say that, that is the reality. Like, how do you just every day, keep it focused on the now rather than getting, lost in those things that we have lost and that we can't do?
You know, it's kind of uh it's surreal. It's like a dream, and it's never ending. I first of all, try to stay busy. I think working out, anything, walking in your neighborhood, riding a bike, anything physical that you can do will help you. If you just put music in your ear and walk around. I've been doing that. I am an ambassador for WW for Weight Watchers, so that did save me. That if I can help other people, I help myself, but I'm also helping other people stay healthy. And my dad, even in his apartment, he walks up and down the hallway. I said, Dad, you got to walk up and down the hallway 30 times, and you have to go out on your balcony and get that vitamin D and sit outside. So I think that is one thing, just, keeping you going, but finding the small things in life that I have to say, what keeps me going is this is an opportunity for me to do something that I've never done in my life and I've always wanted to do. If it's, just people who want to write a book, but for me, I've just wanted to clean out my garage from house to house, whatever, I've always wanted to clean out my garage. I wanted to paint time because I never have time.
Right.
I want to sit with my son and teach him how to cook. So when I feel sad or weird, I say, what is it that I want to do? I've never done a puzzle before. I got so many puzzles. I got the 100-piece puzzle. I do the kids puzzle. I do all puzzles. I was like, I've never done a puzzle before. It's been fun. I got me a little light now. I got my little puzzle board. If Joshua don't want to help me, I don't care. So I have enjoyed that, things that I've never done.
So finding pleasure in simple things like doing a puzzle or painting, and that's really great. And we're hearing more and more about that. People gardening, or people
Yeah.
taking up cooking or different hobbies that they haven't had time to do. But what about your career, Kym? So people seeing you on the big screen, they see you on television, they see you all over the internet. You have these amazing, your Corona Chronicles that you do on your Instagram page. But I have to imagine that your career, or the careers of comics like you, that depend a lot on being inside of clubs and getting that feedback from audiences, that has to have suffered, because we can't go to clubs right now, we can't go to large gatherings. So how are comics, how are actors and actresses and people in the entertainment industry, how are they making it during this really surreal time as you described?
That's another tough one because you thought it would be over. I think in the beginning, we're like, okay, I lost some gigs, but come September, we've already booked those shows. I was on tour with an amazing group of women called Ladies Night Out, and we were touring the country and we were booked for the year. So I'm like, oh, wow, I got my paycheck. But when they canceled all the shows and you can't go in the clubs, and that's how you feed your family, you start to get fearful. Um, but you know, I've checked in with a lot of comics. They're struggling, but there are things like unemployment. There's some grants out there that we've been able to get, but also people putting together these Zoom comedy shows. And what I love is like there's one called Zooming with the Homies. All the comics put their Cash App in the place of their name. So while you're cracking jokes and talking to each other, people are just sending you money, if
Oh,
$1, $5, but it'll handle a bill. So that's been very helpful for comics. But you gotta, it's the new normal. I've done some Zoom, not entertaining, but hosting. Uh, a couple of things I've done, Read Across America. Thank God for WW that I can survive, but it gets, you get afraid. I have some products still on whitleyproducts.com where I have, all my little inventions and things that I have created. So, that's way my book. So those are little streams of income, but it is hard. And if this goes another 6 months, I'll probably be at your house. I'm really concerned that I'm probably gonna be at your house.
Well,
I
the
don't know.
doors are open and you are always welcome. So just know that. So keep
Don't
that in
forget,
mind.
I come with Joshua. It ain't just
And
one.
Joshua's definitely welcome because we don't have any little kids around here anymore. So I love little kids.
Oh,
No,
good.
I just appreciate you being honest about it. I've checked in with so many of my friends, some in the entertainment industry and some are not. And you're right, for so many people, this is such a, perilous times because there is unemployment, but, some of those benefits that have been available through unemployment are coming to an end at the
Yeah.
end of July. So people, I've been reading articles about people saying, look, if I don't get that extra $600, I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm going to be in a food line. It's causing people who otherwise could, support themselves, sustain themselves, to have to really go to extraordinary measures like food banks,
Food, I
things
mean,
that they never thought they would do.
no, the government should just really tell the banks they should stop all mortgages, freeze all mortgages and all rent. Then people might be able to make it. The mortgages that are people paying, even if you're renting, someone owns that.
Right.
So they have to pay. It's still, there's someone else still owing a mortgage on that building where you are. So it would just, it would help a lot of people.
Yeah, no, people are hurting, and I'm glad to hear that comics have found a way to relieve some stress, by doing what you guys do, which is tell jokes and then make other people laugh, because we know laughter is good for the soul for all of us, and putting that cash app up because there are people who, are still working and who have income coming in, and if they
Yes.
can lend a hand and support others, that's what this is all about, because we are truly in this together. I want to shift gears for a minute though and ask you about, you're on the internet. You have a huge following on Instagram. And we've been talking a lot on the special report about cancel culture, about people that make a statement online and before you know it, the backlash comes and they are canceled. And I'm sure you saw the uproar with Terry Crews when he made his statement. And just recently with Nick Cannon, Nick doing that podcast and now his actual talk show that was set to launch in the fall being postponed for a year. So what do you think about cancel culture? Do you think it's gone too far?
Cancel culture is necessary, but it also needs to slow down. Like, take a moment, pause the situation, see what it was about. Like what happened with Roseanne. Let's go there. That might have needed to happen. But this is the problem with the cancel culture. It didn't. Okay, you shut Roseanne down. Ooh, I show you. You're not gonna. But what it did to another 100 people, another 200 people, the writers, the crew. Roseanne was at the top. She's making millions. But the people that were just surviving under that, you canceled, but you canceled out a lot of families. So I think there should be some reparations. There should be some apologies. There should be, given out. But I think it does go too far too fast. That's the problem. They want to show you, whoa, look what I did. I'm going to take away this. I'm going to take away that from you. Because they're not thinking about the rest of it. Even the one saying things. What is the contents of what they're saying? What the context, what are they talking about? With Nick, Nick just graduated from Howard University. So, he all pro-Black and into his history and everything. So, I don't think he meant to hurt, you know, anyone. And I think he was, just talking. I don't think it was mean spirited, like he was mad about it. And, I'm gonna do this. So
So do you think his apology was enough? Because he did issue an apology. He talked about meeting with rabbis. He talked about trying to develop a proactive program so that he could better understand the Jewish faith. Do you think that that was enough and that his show shouldn't have been postponed?
absolutely enough. I'm glad to see that he went back to what was it, Mass Singer? The first they took that away from him, but then they gave it back because I guess they, you had to think about it. Okay. And once you issue an apology, come on. And you feel like, okay, I didn't know. And you're not he wasn't name calling or absolutely. I don't feel like his intentions, he did not have bad intentions. The things that Roseanne said, this name calling and malicious. So I think that, yeah, I think the cancel culture goes too far sometimes.
So you raised a good point, Kym. You talked about when they cancel the lead actor, the lead singer, the lead comedian. There's a whole army of people that work to make these shows happen. They're, the people behind the camera, they're the writers, they're the producers, they're the PAs, they're all these people. And if the show gets canceled or the project gets canceled, they lose their jobs as well. But how do you draw the line? For instance, the Cosby Show. So when Bill Cosby, had those allegations, 50 plus made against him, he's prosecuted, for sexual assault. He's actually convicted. Cosby Show reruns were pulled, and that meant checks were taken away. Do you think that went too far?
Yes, absolutely went too far because now you're punishing me for actions from somebody I cannot control. This is how, especially, residuals, this is how I eat. And some of those actors you have not seen work for a while. And, you're taking money out my mouth. I think that's unfair. Absolutely.
And you raise a good point because people, I think, oftentimes in their quest to punish the person that engaged in the conduct that everybody deems inappropriate, they don't think about what that will do, what impact that'll have for those people, like you said, that they don't control. So all those actors that worked on the Cosby Show for years, many of them you haven't heard from them. They haven't worked and they were depending on that income.
Right.
How
But
do
then
you think how do we make the balance? So, in Terry Crews's case, he made the statement that people need to be considerate about, not just Black lives, but all lives, kind of paraphrasing, what his tweet was. And people came for him. And then there was, the whole Kanye dust up with Chance the Rapper. So how does the culture know when it's gone too far?
Well, I think that is like, and going back to what you were saying, the people that get hurt in these statements, I think they are swift. They're swift with what they do, but they don't take in consideration the person. But what they will say is, well, that person should have taken in consideration before they said anything. Like Nick Cannon or Roseanne, they're probably like, well, they should have taken it in consideration. It's on them. But we have to be better human beings to each other. Just because the one person made the mistake, let's not cut off everyone. So I feel like the balance should be, let's look at every situation separately. Let's not just jump in even with Nick. Were they upset? Yes, some things have happened. But once he made that apology, I feel like then we should say, okay, all right, that's different. Because a lot of people say stuff and do stuff and they don't apologize.
Right.
But it with Terry, see, I like Terry Crews. I've been a friend of his, but I don't know why he's in the news so much. I was like, does he have an album dropping? What's happening? Why is Terry talking? What are you talking about? But Terry, you have to understand, he has a biracial wife. So he feels probably he needs to say something to back up his wife and her family. But sometimes silence is a better, it with especially when we're in this kind of climate right now. You have to be very careful. Even with me, I tell jokes on my Corona Chronicles, and people are like, Kym, it's too soon. You out there making jokes, people dying, this and that. I understand. You got to be very sensitive. Um, so right now, it's touchy. It's very touchy, but I think as human beings, I think we need to slow down and we need to look at the situation before we ruin more than that one person's life. And I think that's more, we have to find the empathy in, that's how we find the balance, I think. Because you got to remember, Richard Pryor's days, a comic could say anything. They were free to say anything and it was hysterical. But now everyone's sensitive. You got to be careful. So I would just say that we got to find empathy as a people. And unless you say something about my mama, then I'm gonna come after you.
Well, you just mentioned silence, Kym. So, Dave Chappelle was called out for his silence following the death of the murder, not death, but the murder of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor. And then he did this socially distanced special so he could be heard on it. And he made the point that sometimes you don't have to say anything, but he got so much heat for not saying anything. So, what are you to do if you are silent? And they say there's a phrase on Instagram that says your silence is violence.
Okay. People just want to rhyme right now. They just want to make your silence is violence. I get it.
That's a hashtag. I kid you not. My producer, Lorna, told me about that hashtag. Silence is violence. We didn't make it up at the special.
Wow.
We do our research.
And I get it. But you also have to be careful again. David Chappelle can say stuff on stage. He's a comic. But David Chappelle is not out there like that as an activist. I'm going to say something. David Chappelle says his stuff on stage. That's where he is best. If David Chappelle said some of the things that he said on stage, he would be in huge trouble. So no, his silence is not violence. Because you gotta say you're talking about a person who walked away from millions because, of that same situation, not that situation, but what was it? Discrimination, unfairness in the workplace, whatever. He's not getting paid what the others getting paid. You want me to coon, all that kind of stuff. So we already know he's going to stand up, but there's so many other people. Why pick on David Chappelle? We all protest differently.
Well, let me just say this, Kym. Maybe it's not picking. I think what people are saying is that people like Dave Chappelle, people like you, people like Terry Crews have these huge platforms. So, in this moment where everyone is trying to push this agenda of anti-racism, they're looking to stars, they're looking to celebrities that they revere. And, celebrities are held in such high esteem. And they know that if you say something, it's going to cut through. That someone who has 10, 20 million followers on Instagram, if you make a statement, that statement is going to cut through in a way that maybe, a civil rights lawyer or a civil rights activist that's out there saying it, but doesn't have that same platform, may not be able to get that message through in the same way that you or Dave or Terry can get through.
Mm-hmm. Well, there is some responsibility to that. Maybe, he could have made a post. Maybe he did do a post. But do I want David Chappelle out there on the front line? No, I don't. I'm going to be laughing at him. I'll be like, what you going to say, David? Say something funny. No, I don't want, I want to see people like you out there. Yes, he could probably have made something, but do I hold him accountable for that? No. This is the thing you have to and celebrities, let them protest and do what they're supposed to do in their comfort zone, because we just talked about the environment. Celebrities, people have to be so careful of what they say because the media can turn it. You
Right.
gotta, yeah, you can say something, but I think there's more, it's not a fear, it's more caution.
Hmm. So before I let you go on this cancel culture, and I promise I'm not going to just wear it into the ground, but I'm just fascinated by it. Gone with the Wind and Aunt Jemima. So Aunt Jemima and Gone with the Wind. What's your take on those two canceled concepts?
I'm so sick of this. I,
You want your pancake box back?
I'm
You're on
so,
Weight Watchers right now, so you're probably not eating pancakes. But do you think that's a lot to do over nothing, or do you think it was time to retire Aunt Jemima?
okay. This is the problem where I get upset about the cancel culture. Just like we gotta stop. We get heated, we march, we make some changes, but now we're gonna go through everything. We're gonna just everything gotta change. If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. Already Black history is not taught in schools. Um, you take away certain things. Let me tell you about that Gone with the Wind. I love Gone with the Wind.
Mm.
You can see what was happening down in that South. If these kids ain't gonna learn it in school, they can see it. They're like, "Oh, wow, wow, they were doing that." It is a part of history. I don't feel like it's like one of those statues. This was what was happening. This was a movie. This was history. We had our first Black woman get an Oscar from that movie. Now you're going to take her away. So now, well, that's gone. You can't you can't have both. You can't say, "Ooh, look what she did," but I'm gonna take it away. That's part of history.
But do you think it's better, Kim, that that part of history is told in context? Because you know what some say. I had a film critic on the show, and he said the better way to show Gone with the Wind is with a film critic or a sociologist or someone that's trained in race and sociology to put it in the context and give an explanation and give a narrative. Because Queen Latifah, who played that character, who played Hattie McDaniel, said she wants Gone with the Wind gone because the way Hattie was treated, she wasn't allowed to come into the theater. When she got her award, she had to stand outside. She had to rush in for a couple minutes, accept the award, read pre-prepared statements that were made, and then she was relegated to that, mammy, that servant role for the rest of her career. So there are folks like Queen who say, let gone be gone. And there's others who say, give it the context, give it the narrative that it deserves. You seem to say, let people see it without any of that, huh?
It's part of history. Don't nobody care about Gone with the Wind. I mean, come on now. Really? We really got other things to fight for and fight about than worry about some Gone with the Wind. It's a part of history. We can go there. Do you know many other movies and TV shows that we could rip apart right now? We can go through and go through it because she was treated that way. It's part of history. This is what happens, and we don't want to repeat it. My fear is that when you take it away, Hattie's story will be buried. I think what she went through, the movie, it will just be pushed as history goes, and nobody will ever think it because it won't be shown. No one will talk about it. It will go away, and so will Hattie. I feel that that's unfair. It could, and nobody gonna sit there and say, well, you know what? If they're gonna put it in a history museum, this is what used to happen down in the antebellum South, and look at this on the wall. This was a Black woman who won an Oscar. We got to see it in a history museum. I don't know. This is the problem. Now we have to worry about that. Who's going to take that and say, oh, let's make sure we show this part of history. Let's keep this. Let's make sure Hattie McDaniel's story is told.
Kids in California.
It's so much other stuff. I don't know if that is a good idea. It's too much right now to be thinking about. If somebody can figure it out, that'll be great. but you got Stephen Fetchit, you got all kind of people that, when I say in my industry, there's a book called Black Hollywood. Monique actually was making me read it back in the day. It talks about how Black people started in this business, and it was fascinating what they had to go through, and where they were, like Mom's Mabley. You don't know their true stories, but when you read them, you're like, whoa,
from taking pictures of kids
and
in
who they
California.
were, and to be proud that we're fighting for our coins and everything, but what they were fighting for, and I think even with Monique, that's because she read that book. That's her struggle. That's what she wants to fight for. She wants to fight for equal pay because she knows that the people that came before us in this business got pennies. So yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. Aunt Jemima, I'll miss her. But she can go. I didn't like her name. I didn't like it. Didn't like it at all.
Did you like the little headscarf?
I didn't like the scarf, but that's what they wore back then. What you gonna do? It's the name. It sounds like a slave, Aunt Jemima. If her name was Aunt Susan, Aunt Laquita,
Aunt Betty.
Aunt Betty, we can handle it. It's that
Betty
Aunt
Crocker.
Jemima.
Okay, yeah.
It's that name that's throwing us off in that scarf.
Well, talking about history, let's talk about something really sad now. Unfortunately, we lost a historical figure, a civil rights giant yesterday, John Lewis. And I just remember 2 weeks ago, you and I were sitting here like this on Zoom, talking about that new documentary that just came out, Good Trouble. I'm marveling at the fact that when I Googled prominent members who graduated from Fisk, up pops you along with this prestigious list of people, including John Lewis. So just tell me, how did you respond when you heard that John had passed away?
I was, since I didn't know him, like I didn't go, that, but I found myself watching, there was a special about him on MSNBC. I found myself watching it over and over and over again all night. And I learned about this great man. So that's how I paid homage to him, to learn about his life.
Right.
I felt like, this country, we're already in a bad situation. And now you've taken one of our jewels away from us, somebody that we could turn to, somebody that we could go to and say, what do we do? You've been through this, what do we do? And, something in me feels like John was like, you know what? I'm gonna get up out of here. There's too much going on. It's time to get on up out of here, go with my wife. So I did that, but while I'm watching this and while I'm talking to my family, I was looking at some pictures. My family were on this thread. And I had seen them before, but I didn't even realize it. My cousin, who my grandmother and his mother, of course, are sisters in Nashville, because it's a very powerful attorney, Black attorney. His son sent pictures of them in the courtroom together and them meetings. And his name is Cornice Enix, Black attorney down in Nashville.
And he's with John Lewis in the courtroom?
Yes, he got him out of jail 6 times. He was his attorney.
Wow.
So we looked at these pictures and I was like, 6 degrees of separation. And it's a young John Lewis and my cousin. I was like, wow, look at all. And that was his attorney, but he was the powerful Black attorney in Nashville. And I realized, like, he went to Fisk. That's why I was at Fisk. And they went to, the sit-ins, right there in Nashville. So, I felt like I was connected with him.
Right. Yeah. That's a really powerful story, because John Lewis, part of his history is that he was arrested 40 times. Wow. So in his fight for civil rights, he put everything on the line. on that Edmund Pettus Bridge. He was actually beaten. We watched those, clips of him being brutally beaten. He's bleeding. So you talk about an icon and someone who's loved by all. And we learned in that documentary, just such a true gentleman. And his favorite saying was he always wanted to get into good trouble.
Good trouble. I
Good
love
trouble.
that. Yes, he
Love it.
did.
So thank you so much, Kym, for sitting down with me. Always a pleasure. You just keep standing up and keeping those other celebrities in line and keeping those moms in line and doing everything that you do on that Instagram page because we love it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Wow, another big shout out to my good friend Kym Whitley for sitting down with me for this in-depth interview. And thanks to all of you for joining me today. A big shout out to my production team and to our sponsor, Special Needs Network. You can continue to be a part of this conversation, the conversations that the special report we're having every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're talking to some of the biggest influencers, some of the biggest experts, big brain people in this country. You name it, they're here on the special report helping us make sense of these really trying times that we're living through. So follow the conversation at Ariva Martin. Before I get out of here, just a couple of words to live by. So many times celebrities are given a hard time for not taking a position or for not speaking up on social issues. As Kym made it plain, that's starting to change as more and more celebrities are finding their voices and figuring out how they can be a part of these, really big national conversations that are happening. Now, following the murder of George Floyd, celebrities from Oprah Winfrey to Jennifer Lopez, like Kym Whitley, have used their massive platforms to speak out against racial injustice. And I applaud these celebrities for doing so because we know in this country, people follow celebrities, they follow sports figures. And when they talk about issues, things start to happen. Politicians pay attention. People start, signing petitions and things start to move. So again, hats off to my friend Kym and to all of those celebrities that are using their platforms to make a difference. In the words of Oprah Winfrey, one of the biggest, media personalities in this, last couple of decades, Oprah said something very profound. She said, those of us who have the ability to be seen or heard in our lives, whether you are Black, white, Asian, or Hispanic, it is incumbent on all of us to not just be outraged when we see injustice, but we all need to speak up and say that will not happen on my watch. We are going to do the work that it takes to dismantle, and we're going to do it in our own way. So whether you are a celebrity like Kym or like Oprah, Oprah's words have power. All of us can and must use our platforms to speak up. So thanks, Kym, for leading by example. Y'all be safe out there. Don't forget to wear your mask or your face covering. And remember, we are all in this together.